Ladies and gentlemen, today is Thursday the 20th of April, and today a new snapshot for the PC edition of Minecraft was released. This is 17w16a and it contains a new mob for Minecraft, as well as plenty of other fixes and changes. My name is slicedlime, let me guide you through all the changes in this version. Let's start with those mobs then, because there is a new one. It is the Illusioner Illager. This is a wizard type of Illager, completely new type. And it has a blinding attack. It can shoot arrows at you, and then the illusion part. It will summon fake mirror images of itself. They all look like they will attack you, but only one is real. Only one can be hit, so make sure you keep track of which one is the real one. Now this is the very first version with these new mobs. They are not quite done yet. They don't spawn naturally yet, and they also don't have a spawn egg properly, so you'll have to summon them in if you want to see them. But they are in the game in this version, so go check them out. Another change to mob is that shulkers, and then shulker boxes as well, have been adjusted in color. Their colors now corresponded to the new palette that was introduced in an earlier snapshot for other things like wool and sheep. Of course, another new mob for Minecraft 1.12 is the parrot, and the parrots have had some bug fixes in this version. Sometimes they would go invisible when they were on your shoulder, and that is no longer the case. Also, if you had an enchanted elytra on and you had parrots on your shoulders, then they would shift colors, and that has been fixed as well. Finally, the word parrot was not translatable in the imitation subtitles, and it is now. So if that's been in the wrong language for you, then that could be sorted out from this snapshot on. In terms of functionality, a number of things have been fixed as well. There's a message that has been added if the narrator feature isn't available. It depends on your system, and a lot of people have been complaining that the narrator doesn't work. That's because the narrator isn't available on their system, and the game will now tell you that that is the case. There's a new hint system as well for beginners in the game, sort of a tutorial, and it will show you basic information, how to move around, how to look around, stuff like that, and it will not show if you already know it. So if you start running and looking around when you start the game, then the hint for that will never show up. There's only a couple of these. Advancements are sort of the continuation, the more advanced tutorials. They also only display in survival mode. Speaking about advancements, the advancement and recipe notifications have been fixed a little bit as well. They didn't show correctly in F1 mode, so if you switched your user interface off, then they became all wrong. And there was a gap between advancement and recipe toasts if you got them at once, and that has been fixed as well. And the toasts in general would darken in some user interface, and while some tooltips are up, and that is also fixed. Another new feature of the new version of Minecraft is that you can save and restore toolbars. This was done with the Control and Shift buttons and a number key, which had a number of problems, so this has now been changed. And not only has it changed, it can now also be rebound. The keybinds are going to be called the Load and Save toolbar, and they default to X plus a number to load and C plus a number to save the toolbars. Other than that, they work the same as before. One more fix to the core functionality of the game. In the previous snapshot, you were unable to drop items by dragging them out of the inventory and clicking outside. That is fixed in this version. Let's move on to blocks. As you know, Minecraft 1.12 will introduce a new glazed terracotta block into the game. Those have now been updated, so they don't attach to moving slime blocks anymore. They are glazed after all. The previous snapshot also had a number of bugs with non-solid blocks acting like solid blocks, so things would connect to things even though they shouldn't, and that has been sorted out in this version, so fences, panes, walls, bars, torches and stuff will not connect to those non-solid blocks anymore, and the cobblestone walls will also not connect to fence gates that are facing the wrong direction anymore. We also have a few random fixes to crafting. The crafting menu could in some cases drop or delete items. That happened when you closed the crafting menu or when you were shift clicking, and that is now fixed. There was also a problem with the recipe book if you selected the dying bed recipe and instead you got the crafting of a bed recipe into your crafting table. If you crafted a bow using a recipe book, you could also destroy other bows in your inventory, and that has been fixed in this version as well. Now, on the technical side of things, there has been some exciting changes as well. The patch notes simply state optimized chain command blocks. To give you the general overview of what this means, chain command blocks are no longer scheduled a tick ahead of time. The chain is now executed in place when the starting command block is triggered. This is actually a bigger change than it might seem on the surface. It's a good optimization, but it has some other uses as well. I've been pushing for this change for a long time now, since before I even started at Mojang, and this exact design came out of a discussion between me, Sarge, and Grum. It's a little bit out of scope for this news video to explain exactly how the changes work and what kind of impact it has. I will be making another video right after this where I'll explain more in detail exactly how this affects command blockers and what you can do with the new way chain command blocks work. NBT parsing has changed as well. It is now a little bit more strict and correct in its parsing of NBT values. This means you can quote keys now if you want to include characters that aren't allowed in your key names, but that also means that those things are no longer accepted if they aren't quoted. Together with this, you get a better error message if you do something wrong, which means that the NBT parser will now be a little bit more helpful in helping you figure out where you did something wrong. Other changes in this include that you can no longer specify indices in lists. They used to be accepted but ignored, and they also used to get printed by default when you got NBT data out of the game. That no longer applies, you are no longer allowed to specify them, and they also no longer get printed. There's also a new prefix that you can use when you are making lists, and that will convert the list into a binary array or an integer array instead of a list. These types of data are used in very few places in the game, but they are used in some places, and in those places you will now be able to use them. The recipe JSON format has changed as well. It has now got a group tag, which is used to group similar recipes together. And finally, on the technical part, a new keybind component has been added to text components. When you're specifying raw text, you can now specify keybinds to print out one of the keybinds that the player has set. And on the stability side, the server output wouldn't show anything other than errors, which has been fixed, and a whole bunch of crashes were in the game, and that has also been fixed in this version. If you want to try this version out, then head into your launcher, click the Launch Options tab, and enable Snapshots. This will now bring up a new profile in your profile selection drop-down box next to your play button that says Latest Snapshot. Select this profile and start the game, and now you'll be playing the latest Snapshot version, which is currently this one, 17w16a. Do keep in mind that as the launcher will warn you, these are development snapshots. They can be unstable, crashing, or even corrupting your world, so if you do try it on a test world or on a backup of your world. That is all for this time. If you want to stay up to date with all the Minecraft news, then feel free to subscribe to my channel and keep an eye on the Minecraft news playlist, where there's update videos for all new versions and snapshots of Minecraft. My name is slicedlime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.